I was down there the other day, figured I better fix some fences because I was going to turn the horses and cattle out down there and let them graze it all off. And as I was doing that, I started thinking I had a little short run of fence I had to build, and then I had to patch a whole bunch of stuff. And I started thinking about jobs that I used to do, and one of the things that happened to me when I was real young that kind of shaped the jobs that I got later in life. And I'll tell you, I was a young kid. I was, I don't know, 12 maybe. And it was the first job I ever had. I worked for my uncle. My uncle had some office buildings and a vacant lot next to it. And he had me go over there and clean up around there and paint and do all these different odd jobs in the summer. So I remember the first time I was over there, I'd go and he'd say, "There's a vacant lot over there, go pick all the trash up out of that vacant lot." And it was right next to a Thrifty's and some other little store, and it just seemed like every day I'd go out there, clean it up, next day it'd just be full back of trash. I don't know if he was just giving the, it was a job for me just to do work or whatever, but I remember thinking, I'm never going to be a trash collector. That's one job I'm never going to do. And then he had me paint, and I remember I was sitting out there painting, and painting is about the most boring job you can do, and it just gets old, and you're painting along, and I remember thinking, I was sitting there and I was painting the wall, and I was thinking, he ain't been there all day, my uncle. And I could just sit down over there and I wouldn't have to worry about nothing for a while. And I no more than started thinking that and sat down, and my uncle walked around the corner. Want to know what I was doing? Well, boy, I tell you what, I was hurt. I was hurt. Because I had been working the whole time hard, and I thought, I'm going to get away with just a few minutes of just resting, and there he walked around the corner. But it reminded me, because a lot of times we get jobs in our lives that are no fun. And that day, I remember thinking, I'm never going to do this job again. And I did. That was it. That summer, I needed some money, and I worked for my uncle. But I never got another job after that day that I did not like. And if I did have a job that I didn't like, I didn't last very long. Because I went and I got another job. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't work. But what I am saying is, it's very, very important that you do a job or whatever it is that you do in life to make a living that you can enjoy. And if you can't enjoy it, there's not much to it. I remember after that day, I went through and I did all kinds of different. I remember I worked at a gas station for a while, and you might think, well, a gas station, why a gas station? Well, it was during high school, and there was a lot of girls come to that gas station, so it was a lot of fun. And then I remember later on, I went and I got a job at a restaurant, in a bar. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of things happened in there. And things that made it enjoyable to me. I remember going and working on a ranch, doing day work after I got a degree in animal science. And I remember thinking, they're paying me to go out here and chase cows, rope them, and doctor them. Now how cool is that? I went through and I remember I started doing pack trips in the Sierras for fishing, taking people out fishing. I did pack trips in Colorado for hunting. And then I started to run a ranch in Colorado for hunting. All these jobs that I did, they didn't make a lot of money, and they were never going to make me rich. But you know what? I enjoyed them. I had a smile on my face, and ain't nobody was going to bring me down. But let me tell you another story. If you go and you get a job that you hate to go to every morning, and when you get there, you're grumbling and upset, and you're not doing anything that Christ wants us to do in life. And that's really what we're supposed to think about. What are we doing in life as far as being a Christian? Because as much as I want to say, life is tough, and there's all these things that are going to come along, so, you got to forget about being a Christian sometimes. You can't forget about being a Christian sometimes. You're a Christian 100% of the time. Do you remember the story about me sitting down on the job that one time? That one time for a few minutes, and what happened? My uncle walked around the corner. Walked around the corner. Well, what do you think's going to happen when you're on that job and just for a few minutes you decide not to be a Christian? Somebody's going to see you, ain't they? Somebody's going to walk around the corner and see you cussing or swearing or saying something bad or doing something wrong. And what's going to happen? Well, number one, if they know you're a Christian, they're not going to think much about it, being Christian. Another thing that you got to remember is you're representing Christ. You're, and it says in the Bible, Christ's ambassador. So, what do you think he's feeling? What do you think Christ is feeling when you're doing stuff like that? What do you think Christ is feeling when you're opening your mouth and things are coming out that shouldn't be coming out? I guarantee he ain't liking it. He ain't liking it. He loves you just like a father loves a son or a daughter, but he don't like it. And you know what? All that Christ has done for us in our lives, all that he has done, and you say, what has he done? Well, what do we have? What do you have? Do you own anything? Well, he gave it to you. Do we have life? He gave it to you. Do we have eternal life? He will give it to you. So what has he done for you? Probably more than anything you could ever imagine. All you have to do is stop and think for a second. Because everything you own, everything that is in this world came from him. Because he loves us and he doesn't want to lose any of us. But at the same time, how do we honor him? How do we honor God? How do we say thank you? We say thank you by doing the work that he wants us to do. We say thank you by just being a good Christian and thinking about that every second of every day. You know, our jobs are not easy usually, no matter what it is. I can tell you all kinds of bad things that might have happened, or that did happen when I was doing pack trips and when I was running a hunting camp. But it was the best job that I could find. And because it was something that I enjoyed doing, even the bad times, I still had a smile on my face. I still enjoyed it. And I still raised God up in it. And that's what we're supposed to do. And I'm sure enough, I'm bragging. I wasn't perfect. I'm sure enough, I'm sure I dropped, I failed. I did things I shouldn't have done. But I'll tell you something. I did it less than most people that don't like their jobs. I did it less than most people that can't stand going to work and don't know why they're there. So what am I telling you today? Quit your job and not work? No. I'm telling you today to think about what you're doing while you're at work. To think about whether or not you're putting money above your happiness. Because you know what? God wanted you to be happy. It says that in many places in the Bible. God wanted you to be happy. He didn't want you to be upset with your life. And the only way that you can show who Christ is reflecting the love that he gave us. And the only way you can do that is by being happy every day at whatever you're doing. You know, it says in the Bible, work like you're working for God. Work like you're working for God in everything that you do. And if we can think about that each and every day, before we go out and do our jobs, before we go out and do whatever we're going to do, think about who we're really working for. Who's our boss? Who's our boss? It's God. Nobody else. Because who do we answer to in the end? God and nobody else. I don't answer to my uncle. I don't answer to anybody else that was ever above me except for God. And believe me, there's one thing that I know, that God is the fairest judge of all judges. And that he knows everything and every reason why everything went on. And so if you can say, I'm doing my best, and honestly say that, then God is going to be very, very happy. And if you keep smiling and showing and reflecting that love. Because you know what it says in the Bible? God is love. God is love. And we're supposed to reflect that love to others. Because others can't see it yet. All they can see is us. And if all they can see is us, then what are we showing them? How are we acting every day? All it takes is a few words, a few things. Just like that time I sat down with my uncle's family. Just one little thing like that. And you might turn around with somebody and go in the wrong direction. Or, on the other end of the whole thing, all it takes is that little extra effort of being happy, joyful, showing others who Christ is through your actions. To have them say, I want to be like that. I want to know why you feel that way. I want to know why you do things the way you do. And then you can share Christ. I have some scriptures I want to read. And the very first one is Nehemiah 8, verse 10. It says, the joy of the Lord is your strength. You must not be dejected and sad. Be joyful. Show others that joy. Philippians 4:4 says, always be full of joy in the Lord. Let that joy come through you and reflect it to others. And then in 1 John 4:8 and also in 4:16 it says, God is love. So okay, God is love. Let's just make that statement. Let's go on to 2 Corinthians 5:20. It says, we are Christ's ambassadors. So if He's love and we're His ambassadors, then what are we showing? Are we showing love? Are we showing kindness? Are we showing good manners? Are we showing people what Christ is through our actions? Then the very last, Ephesians 6:7. It says, work hard and with gladness all the time, as though working for Christ. That's our job, working for Christ. We've all been called by God to work. We've all been called to show others who Christ is through our actions. If we're Christians, that's our number one thing in life. So how are we doing? What are we doing in life to show others who we are? Are we sitting down on the job? Or are we running around with a smile on our face saying, wow, I can't wait till tomorrow? Or even better yet, as Diane loves to say, oh boy, my favorite. That's what it is about. Just say, oh boy, my favorite, the next time something comes along. And you would be amazed at how that makes you feel. But the very first step, the very first thing that you have to do is have Christ in your heart. And the only way that you can do that is by asking in Him. And that's pretty easy, ain't it? That's a pretty simple deal. Just say, Christ, I want you in. And if you haven't done that yet, right now I'm going to do it. If you want to follow along, you can do the same. And you can find out just what kind of love He has for you. Please, dear Lord, I know that I'm a sinner. I know that I fall short. Today I want you to forgive my sins and show me that love that you have for all of mankind. I want you to show it to me. I want you to lead me. I want you to guide me with it. And I want you to give me the directions. You're marching orders to show me what I need to do in life, to show others your love. In Jesus Christ's name, I pray.